Dhamma greetings to you all. You are all very welcome to our mindfulness meditation today. To begin with, I would like to pay my respect to my teacher, who is the Buddha, the enlightened one, the worthy one, the supremely enlightened one. Out of gratitude and compassion. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato Samma sambuddhassa. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Well, so today we are going to explore one of the compelling meditative techniques in literature, visualization of life through the lens of mindfulness meditation. However, it feels to me that today is gonna be kind of more challenging time to us in terms of the environment. So you might hear lots of sounds, But to me, that's another opportunity to learn and grow, even in the midst of hindrances, disturbances and difficulties, because they are really testing us whether I am capable of or not, whether I have the strength and whether I have developed the skills to get through them, to stay calm and silent whilst not getting irritated or annoyed or drastically disturbed by those challenging distractions. I think that's another opportunity perhaps for you to take away, maybe at the end of meditation. Well, however, today our topic is visualization of life through the practice of mindfulness meditation. I was just wondering, what's your understanding or what's your preliminary thought with regards to the visualization? Because I myself, as a practitioner, many people have visited me and explained me that, well, Venerable, I have practiced visualization as part of meditation, but for the most of time my impression was that many people are thinking visualization is kind of living in an imaginary world, living in a fantasy, or imagining or thinking of some beautiful pictures and trying to absorb into them, and just try to rejoice in whatever you like. People think, I think if not most, they think that way. Visualization is kind of that cognitive, illusionary ways. However, I want to expand the horizon of visualization practice in a different context, perhaps to look at in a different way through calm and wisdom. Here, in this context, I would say visualization is not just a means of imagining something or living in fantasy or thinking of some beautiful or captivating pictures or intentions or something you have got bogged down with. No, not at all. It is just to look at your life as it really is. Here, I'm trying to stress the fact that visualization is not just a cognitive or psychological process, as most people think, but it is a way to see your life more clearly and distinctly. There is a canonical term, vipassati, passati and vipassati. The Pali term passati simply means just to see, just to watch it out. But when it comes to vipassati with the prefix of vi, it signifies it how? See clearly, you see distinctively, see more deeply and widely. We're trying to delve into it, what it really is, the things as they really are, rather than just to get some delusional perceptual sensations, as we always do. So we try to look at the world and perceive the world with the wisdom eye, to put it another way, with the wisdom eye, not just our physical eye. The reason is that we are always witnessing and experiencing the world through our physical eye. That's no doubt. But when it comes to meditative practices, we try to look at the world not just only physical eye, but our eye that arises through our wisdom, our deep understanding or analysis, or perhaps more reasoning, to some degree of your contemplative modes of thinking. These are parts of visualization. Therefore, I would like to explain a couple of things ahead of our practice today. The first is how to see life as it is. When I use the term or the phrase to see as it really is, that's very perplexing. Perhaps to a newcomer to meditation, he or she could think, oh, it is indeed not sensical. Maybe he or she could feel that's very ironical. What does it really mean to see it as it really is? How it really is. We think habitually everything is permanent and everything is very much perpetual, and the world gives us pleasure, joy and peace and everything. Ultimately, we intend to imagine that everything near and far is eternal. They belong to us and I belong to them. So kind of very solid attitude to self, very solid attitude to existential understanding of the world. But here we need to think the process rather than the person. Why the process? There is a wise saying in the gradual sayings of the Buddha. It's called Gaddula Bhadda Sutta. Sayatapi bhikkhave nadiyo sighasota sandhanti. It means that, well, the rivers are constantly and swiftly flowing. The water is never standing alone. Have you ever seen the standing water? It's always flowing and swiftly flowing and moving. And also, it is not possible to find the first and last waves of the water, right? It's impossible. It's flowing and it's moving. The first and last waves are not to be found. within the process, because it's a process. If you think of your breath, the first and last breath, it's very difficult to distinguish. When I have got the first breath in this long-lasting journey, and when I will get the final breath in this everlasting journey, that's very perplexing. The reason is that this is a process. So if it is a process, it's always moving. If something is moving, there is no room to attach to it. There is no room to cling to it. Because if we try to get attached to it, that hurts us a lot. Because it's moving as it is. That's its nature. That's its essential and fundamental nature of reality. So, just as the body is never standing alone, our life is the same. When we see the 5 aggregates, we have got our form, feelings, perceptions, and volatile formations and consciousness. So our life is made out of these aggregates. Therefore, it is worth thinking our life as a process rather than a person. That's a different angle, and that's a different lens in which you can utilize to see your life as it is. Then there is no need to get worried or get annoyed and irritated with certain things and people in your life, because you know it's moving, you know it's flowing, it's never static or in itself. That's ultimate nature of life. Understanding this flowing nature is very helpful when it comes to reduce your ego, your attachment, your lust, a craving and fretting for the material things, and ultimately our ignorance. So this is very much part of the visualization practice. You see how different it is. Then the second is very fascinating to me, the understanding the selfless nature of our life. What's it? The selfless nature? We always think, oh, this is me and this is mine. Oh, that's myself. These are my belongings, these are my properties. So I don't have to go far and I need to take care of everything because I am attached to everything. Therefore, I think we have got enough of suffering and sorrow and pain in our life due to all these belongings and the things. And more specifically, if I say that's our mindset, that's our thinking pattern of the world. The discourse called anattā, which means the characteristics of the selfless nature, says that yada nattang netam mama neso hamasmina meso attati. If it is not eternal, that means if everything is transient, impersonal, which means impermanent, so there is no way to say, oh, this is mine, and that's myself, and this is I am. Why? These are all kind of very spatial temporal sensations and perceptions to some degree of our understanding, and one way or another. It is no a certain thing, that there is no a certain or fundamental person to see, oh, this is my eternal nature, this is my long-lasting and an everlasting entity. No, we couldn't say at all. Even my breath, even your posture, even your hair, from up to down and down to up, if you think of yourself, how fast and how swiftly everything is changing with regards to even your body. If it is so, how people think, and how people get very solid and very strong attitudes to their body and mind. But in the modern world, when people listen to such, people get very crazy and sometimes very arrogant, and what is he talking about? What does it really mean? No person, no attitude, no self. Then what the world is, what the person is. That's the thing we are saying. These are all the mind road and and mind perceived world. Even in modern phenomenology and also the scientific field of quantum physics, the people say there is no difference, the hearer and the heard. No difference, the hearer and the heard. There is no sound apart from listening. Right? There is no sound apart from listening. Similarly, there is no world apart from the mind. As long as your mind is awake to things, then there is a world. If your mind is not awake to things, no. There is no picture apart from your seeing. So that's very subtle. That's very dynamic. That is a nice story that I would like to share with you to flesh out this thought. This is a Zen story. The story itself is called listening to the sound of one hand clapping. One hand clapping. Have you ever heard? Have you ever experienced the sound of one hand clapping? It is another ironical teaching in literature, not sensical very much. So, but this is designed to ensure the conceptual learning and entanglements within us. We have got so many concepts. That's infinite. However, once upon a time, the student came to visit the master and asked how I can practice silence and calm in reality. Then the monk said, well, then please get used to listen to the sound of one hand clapping. That's his practice. That's the advice he was given by the teacher. So he got the advice, then went to the forest, and foot of the tree, he stopped practicing and listening. So he ended up with certain reasoning and logical analysis and various kinds of visualization practices. He did a lot, but couldn't attain anything at all. Nothing worked out well for him, sadly. However, one day, after a while, these unsuccessful attempts, he stood at the root of a tree. Then suddenly he heard and he felt the wind goes through the bamboo forest. The sounds of the birds and the flowing sounds of the river, he heard. He heard very subtle and small and the most simplest movements around him. Then he ultimately understood that, well, There is no difference between the hearing and the heard. Whenever I am awake to it, I know it, I feel it. Whenever I am not, no, I do not understand it. So every instant is teaching us if we are awake to it. Every moment is an opportunity to learn and grow in practice of meditation. Hence, the story, the sound of the one hand clapping, it simply means there is no duality in the world. In fact, there is no much difference between the object and subject. That's very tangled, that's mutually intertwined with each other. But to know that, we need to come up with this subtle and deep psychology of the self. That's part of visualization. Then the third, the thinking of your mind just as a mirror. What's the purpose of mirror? I think we all use and we all know what the mirror is and why we use it actually. Why we use it? Just to look you up. Well, I am well enough. I'm good enough. I am dressed well. Whether I look beautiful and pleasing to everyone and just to myself. So clarifying everything just to make sure, well, I am fit enough to go out. So in the same way, your mind is also a mirror, but to the extent that to ensure you have reduced, you have alleviated the roots of your defilements, because these are the roots of and the causes of inner ugliness, inner unpleasantness, or whether I have reduced the unpleasant roots like desire, hatred, and illusion, and so forth. So just to think your life and your mind as a mirror that's very transparent, then you can have a more vivid imagery of yourself. The more closer you are, the wiser you would become in your own life. So because you are the mirror of your life, you don't have to go anywhere else. But for example, you need to buy a material mirror to look yourself up. But here, in this context, you don't have to buy anything at all. The mirror is already here. You just have to settle down. You just have to let your defilements calm down. Let your dust of the mind settle. Then the luminosity will arise. The calm and the peace will arise whenever the dust of mind settled. Just to be patient, just to be calm within yourself, then everything should be fine. That's the mirror, that's the purpose of mirror. So, to me, you see, this is another beautiful way of looking at your life. So, yeah. And lastly, we could think of our life how your mind and your feelings, your emotions and thoughts are part of the whole nature, not just your personal attributes. Trying to think your life as part of shared interest, the part of shared elements in nature. For example, when you practice breathing meditation, the way the breath entering your body and leaving your body, we could practice and visualize this is not just part of your own existential phenomena, but rather this breath is shared by the whole nature. The animals, the species of animals, and your neighbors, and the country people, even the environment, the birds, the leaves, trees, rivers. We are sharing our breath. It is not and it is not very much personal. You couldn't grasp, oh, this is my breath. No one cannot take it. No one cannot take it over. This is mine. This is only for me, this breath. No, you couldn't do that. Breath is shared by many, an unpredictable amount of entities in nature. If you think in that way, even your breath, that gives you more gratitude and more appreciation perhaps towards yourself and others. And at the same time, I have experienced that it helps reduce our greediness and our toughness, perhaps some sorts of our brutal and more violent thoughts to others, because we are becoming more selfless, not very much self-centered, because we think, well, all the things I have are shared by nature, the infinite amount of natural creatures near and far. This is not only for me, this is not only for myself, but for others too. So then that gives you the greater sense of humility and compassion, finally, boundaryless and unlimited loving kindness towards all sentient and non-sentient creatures near and far. In this manner, all in all, what I'm trying to explain you today as part of visualization of life through the lens of mindfulness practice today, just a couple of things. The first was to understand and visualize your life just as a process, as part of process that's constantly flowing and swiftly moving. Not take it for granted or not take it personal. So think it as a evolving process. Then that gives you more relief on many occasions in your life. And the second, try to reduce your self-centered and more deep attachment to yourself. Try to be a little selfless, or perhaps try to play a role in the middle ground between the existence and non-existence. Not to be too harsh and not to be too craving for things, even yourself. Just to be relaxed as it is. Just to take it for the use with compassion and gratitude. And thirdly, think of your life and your mind as a mirror, an opportunity to see through and see clearly and distinctly where I am and where I was and where I will be, to get a clearer picture of yourself. Well, I am really pleasant or not? I am really beautiful or not? In terms of your emotions, your feelings and attitudes, not just the dressing up well, living well, living in a good place with neighbors, and no, that's all fine, but still think your beauty and splendor within your own mental motives too. And finally, try to think of your life as part of nature, as part of this infinite nature. Everything you use and everything you consume is nourished and shared by a number of entities in the world, including your breath. If we say breath, then that is perhaps the smallest and simplest thing that we can witness. But when we say your atomic and nuclear particles, they are even shared by many. So thinking that we can acknowledge the togetherness and mutual interconnectedness with nature, then we can be more relaxed and more compassionate to others. So I think by all means, these are ways by which we can practice and visualize our life through mindfulness practice, rather than just living in a fantasy and imagining and thinking of something different. Just try to be as you are. Just try to accept who you are and let it unpack and let it unfold as they are.